And I'm just gonna directly jump in. I want to start my presentation today with an image of Anna Nil that you can see here. The young girl stares sternly into the camera. Her long, slightly disheveled hair blows in the wind as she stands on the street with packed suitcases. Allegedly a young rebel in school and discontent with her life, she's determined to emigrate from the Kingdom of Württemberg to the United States on her own at the age of 15, even though she claimed to be 17 upon her arrival. The image shows Anna Neil in 1888, or rather how she might have looked like in 1888. The image is a speculative representation of a time in her life for which no historical record exists. Generated with the help of AI as its creators inform, it was featured in the American Dreams exhibition at the Haus der Geschichte in Stuttgart, Germany, claiming to encourage deeper engagement with migration history. However, upon visiting the exhibition, I found myself questioning its implications. Why are the majority of the women, and not only Anna Nil, depicted as young and attractive? Why do the images present a broader, more diverse range of representations for men in terms of their size, features, or age, while women are predominantly shown through a narrow, idealized lens? And do these speculative illustrations genuinely make history more accessible? I was truly excited to visit the exhibition because from what I've learned, it would offer a diverse picture of German migration to the US, bringing together stories about people of different gender, age, social background, religion, and motives of migration. The curators organized the museum into 5 sections, as you can see on the left side here. Virgin land, settlers and their role in Native American displacement, God's own country, focusing on diverse religious groups, land of the free, 19th century German revolutionaries, land of rescue, Jewish forced migration from the 1930s to the 1950s, and land of opportunities, featuring migrants like Anna Nil, who gained wealth through real estate and also engaged in philanthropy by making donations for people in need, specifically children from her German hometown. I was puzzled, however, upon seeing AI-generated images that were printed on postcards, which you can see here. The images are accompanied by the names of the migrants featured in the exhibition. However, only a little sentence informs that the image was generated with the help of AI. Examining the images, I questioned why the museum used AI in the first place, what tools were employed, and how they implemented and documented them, as none of this information was accessible anywhere in the museum space. While the exhibition sought to diversify narratives of migration, its use of AI ultimately introduced new layers of bias, aesthetic distortion, and ethical concerns, which I want to show you today. Before examining the exhibition in detail, I want to briefly outline AI's diverse applications in museums to contextualize this particular implementation. Baptiste Caramio identifies at least 4 areas of use. First, archiving, cataloging, managing information. Here, AI can assist by automating information management tasks such as cataloging, clustering, optical character recognition, and similarity analysis to enable an efficient organization and deeper understanding of digitized collections. The second is proposing more engaging services for the audience. This means using AI to create an interactive experience, such as, for instance, using chatbots on site for audience engagement with the collections. The third area is managing visitor experience, that is using AI tools to manage and improve the experience. For example, museums assess comments posted on platforms such as TripAdvisor, using sentiment analysis techniques and topic modeling to analyze feedback from thousands of visitors to improve exhibits and visitor experience. And the final section, which is also the one that I will be focusing on today, is creating. In other words, using AI as a tool to generate content featured in an exhibition. For instance, through the use of digital simulation technology, it was possible to hear the speech that the assassinated US President John F. Kennedy had planned to give in Dallas but never actually held. Or you may know Dimensions in Testimony, which is an interactive project that used advanced video technology and NLP to allow people to have a virtual conversational encounters with Holocaust survivors. In both cases, the models are trained on the data of the historical actors themselves. For the creating aspect, studies show that AI has not extensively been used in history exhibitions. Instead, it has become more common in exhibitions about AI itself and its development, or in art exhibitions where artists themselves have incorporated AI in their work. In American Dreams, the exhibition catalog provides the only source of information about the AI tools used, and since it must be purchased, not all visitors see it. On 2 pages, it briefly mentions AI's role in cultural heritage and describes 2 media stations that creatively present migration history and demonstrate AI's functionality. In this presentation, I will only focus on the media station featuring the images, which is called Traumreisen, so Dream Journey. It basically is a large touch screen that allows you to go through the different generated images, which I showed you in the beginning. There they are, however, separated from the migrants, their stories and their objects, even though they bear the historical actors' names. However, one can also find them in non-digital format on postcards next to the stations that focus on the different migrants' biographies, as you can see here. According to the catalog, they call these images selfies, which is misleading, as a selfie is a photograph that a person takes of themselves, and in none of the examples can we see such an action. The so-called selfies are generated by the AI MidJourney, depicting the person at a real biographical stage. MidJourney is an AI-based image generation tool that uses machine learning to create detailed and high-quality images from textual descriptions using a model which learns patterns from large data sets of images, so all kinds of images. The so-called selfies, as they further claim, attract attention and spark interest, leading to a deeper engagement with migration history topics. The images are an entry point into the stories, but the background information is then provided not by artificial, but by the curator's intelligence, as they further state. Here one would wish for more discussion on the topic of intelligence and the difference between a media memory and a simulation of a human memory. In addition, it would have been helpful for naming the specific AI tool in the exhibition and not only in the catalog, instead of printing the simple sentence "with the help of AI." Since none of this information was accessible in the museum, and I asked the curator for more background information, and they got me in contact with the agency that created the content, and they gave me some material to start with. I want to show you now a short clip of some of the selfies. Even though this is just a selection of some of the images, because I can't show you all of them in the course of this presentation, I think what strikes out is not only that the women, in contrast to the men, are predominantly depicted as young girls, but also how they all gaze straight into the camera like professional models. They're not smiling. As it turns out, for the prompt, the agency had used the information use codec T-Max 400, which is a high-speed black and white photographic film known for its fine grain and sharpness and predominantly used for documentary or action photography, but it was only invented in 1986. According to the agency, AI serves as a graphic tool, making history more tangible through contemporary technology and aesthetics. Does making history more tangible through contemporary technologies and aesthetics imply making Catholic nuns, as in the case of Franziska Höll, look younger and more attractive? And how does this relate to her experience as she migrated from the Black Forest to the US in 1903 at the age of 66, and not at a young age as these selfies suggest? I wonder how the German Museum could adopt this approach given the many recent feminist critiques of visual artificial intelligence. And moreover, can tools that were designed for generating art also be used for generating history? There is one example that I want to show you today, which raises several levels of ethical concerns. Here you can see the display of Katharina Veit, a Jewish German woman from Freiburg, Germany. After 1933, Katharina's 4 children migrated to Palestine, Colombia, and the US. She, her husband, and their youngest daughter stayed first due to their property and subsequently due to the difficulty of getting a visa. The three were brought to a concentration camp in France, where her husband died shortly after. Her daughter was sent to Auschwitz, where she was murdered. Katerina was the only one who survived. She migrated to the US to join her family there in 1946. Here you can see two of these so-called selfies that are in the exhibition and also printed in the catalog. The right one seeks to depict her after her arrival in the US, smiling. The other one, which also bears her name, shows a much younger version. She does not smile, but rather looks hopeless or anxious. If they are trying to depict her during the 1930s, when democracy died in darkness, why does she look so much younger than the second image? Here in the catalog, there's no marking of the AI-generated content at all. And looking at the image to the right on her certificate of naturalization, one might wonder whether they somehow have used her real images, have used her real image for the training of the selfie, as they look very similar. Moreover, why is this the only image that shows an elderly woman? And why is this the only one with a smile? And additionally, knowing the family story, one might also wonder, why did they include the question in the catalog, which message would have Katharina Veit sent into the family group chat on WhatsApp? When? While she was in a concentration camp? Where's the line between using modern technologies to engage visitors emotionally and distorting historical accuracy? As you can see, I have a lot of questions that I'm trying to find answers to. AI will not simply disappear, it is transforming the way knowledge is produced and shared and perceived. Museums as places of education, knowledge, and discovery are both subjects and agents of these transformations. Cultural institutions can assist in reflecting on and raising awareness of this process, be it as a space for discussing the soft ethics of AI or making the differences between human and AI-generated content tangible in terms of digital source criticism. Sector-specific guidelines and case studies are needed to clarify ethical considerations and support practical applications. I think an analysis of the application of generative AI in the American Dreams exhibition can add to this discussion. In particular, the representation of women, predominantly as young, slim, and conventionally attractive, raises concerns about the underlying biases embedded in AI training datasets and model designs and the broader implications of aesthetic standardization in historical reconstruction. Additionally, the inclusion of AI-generated representations of Holocaust survivors without explicit acknowledgement of their synthetic nature calls into question the appropriateness of such tools in sensitive historical contexts. By creating deep fakes, so realistic but fictional images of people, the German agency adopted an approach that demands significantly more context and explanation as part of the museum experience. The AI-created images, despite the availability of historical photographs, present a highly stylized and often misleading portrayal of the past. These issues reflect broader challenges in AI's application to historical interpretation, the disembodiment of historical subjects, the reinforcement of cultural biases, and the potential erosion of source transparency. Such tools pose the risk of generating fake images that may be used as authentic evidence for events that never really occurred. They can create visuals that distort or even deny historical events. They can manipulate images by adding, removing, or altering elements to support specific narratives, potentially fueling propaganda and undermining trust in authentic visual sources. So this is what I wanted to present you today, but I'm happy to talk more about my future ideas for using specifically this exhibition and the generated visual and textual data for learning modules. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to your questions later.